The Tao of Self-Confidence, episode 732. Welcome to the Tao of Self-Confidence, where I share stories of amazing women who have discovered their inner journey to self-confidence. Visit our website at thetaoofselfconfidence.com. Your inner journey to self-confidence awaits. Well, hello friend. Welcome to the Tao of Self-Confidence, where I share stories of amazing women who have discovered their inner journey to self-confidence. I'm your host today, Sheena Yap Chan, and today I have a phenomenal lady on the show today. She is a fashion model and activist, and I'm really excited to have her on and share her story with us today on self-confidence. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce you to Aine Campbell. Anya, how are you today? Maybe you can fill in a little bit more about yourself to the listeners.
Hi, Sheena. Hi, it's great to be here. Thanks so much for having me on. Yes, so I have been modeling for about 10 years, mostly in London, New York, and Hong Kong. And I've modeled for clients like Vogue, Kate Spade, Fendi, Reebok, and I've done runways, New York Fashion Week, London Fashion Week. But I'm also the co-founder of the Model Mafia, which is a global community of over 350 fashion models, and we work together to make the fashion industry and the world more sustainable, just, and equitable. And I'm also a big advocate of sustainable fashion, so wherever I can, I try to model for sustainable fashion brands.
Awesome. Well, thanks for sharing that. And Anya, what's your cultural background?
So I'm half Chinese and I am half British. My mother is Scottish, Irish, and English.
Thanks for sharing that. And what'd be your favorite self-confidence quote?
It's something really simple, which is don't take yourself too seriously. And I got that from my friend, Mike. I was talking to him. I was having like an existential crisis and concerned about, how to present myself and what to do. And he was like, Anya, just relax. Don't take yourself too seriously. And I just relaxed and it was great. And I thought, wow. And from then on, I sort of go back to that.
Thanks for sharing that. I know sometimes we can be so hard on ourselves. So, it's just like a great reminder to, whatever we're doing, to have fun and just kind of keep it light. So thanks for sharing that. And in your own words, how do you define self-confidence?
I feel like self-confidence is feeling at ease in yourself. So being okay with who you are and where you are in life. And I also think that it's something about having a certain freedom from the opinion of others so that you can be your genuine self at any moment. Or at least that you aren't disempowered by the pressure to be something to other people. Because it's one thing to feel uncomfortable and nervous in a situation, and it's another thing to feel completely lacking in confidence to express yourself.
Thanks for sharing that great definition. And Anya, what was your life like before your discovery of self-confidence?
So for me, I feel like self-confidence and confidence is kind of part of everyone's personal journey and their growth in life. So there was never really one moment of before and after. It's something that I'm constantly working on. And so, for example, when I was at school, I never really thought that I was beautiful. And I grew up in a mostly white suburb just outside of London where no one looked like me. And I really wished I looked more English, bigger eyes, fairer hair. And I was teased with the way that I looked. And so it made me feel extremely unconfident. And so my journey with confidence and the way that I looked changed when I started modeling, because even though modeling brings its own challenges, I had the narrative around the way that I looked flipped. So slowly over the years, because it definitely wasn't just immediately, I began to see myself in a different way and think, I am beautiful in my own way. And that affected my confidence. And I also think that confidence changes in different situations. So for me, if I'm in a new situation, I definitely feel less confident. When I did my first runway shows at London Fashion Week, I was so nervous. I just turned the corner, went down the runway, and all the lights were flashing, and it was over in a second, and my heart was racing. And now, I feel really comfortable on the runway. So that confidence grew from experience. And similarly, when a few years ago, when I co-founded the Model Mafia, and suddenly I was in a position of leadership, I had to speak in front of all these different women. I had to learn to step up, to step back, to facilitate, to hold space. And all of that was really daunting. I felt completely out of my depth. But again, it was because it was a new situation. So I feel like remembering being able to remember that, a new situation, a new circumstance makes you less confident. It makes me feel more relaxed. It helps me give myself a break. If I feel like, I should have done this better and I should have spoken more confidently, understanding your situation also affects your confidence levels is something which is really important to remember. And I also think that confidence is like a muscle. The more you use it, the bigger it becomes. And I think that's really powerful to remember. So, when I was consciously seeking out sustainable fashion brands and talking about their work on social media and why their process uses so much better than those of fast fashion, I was challenging the status quo and also the clients that I normally work for. So initially, I was really, really apprehensive about talking about this. But I found that the more that I shared, the more confident I got in expressing what I really thought and how I was feeling. So it's not only easier to do that the more you do it over time, but you also become more of your authentic self when you move about in the world, when you just keep sharing. So my overall feeling with confidence is it's a process, and it's always changing. And the more you put yourself out there, the more experience you have, the easier it is to feel confident.
Thanks for sharing that. It's great that you're able to share all the experiences that you've gone through from, the time you grew up until now, because, like confidence is something that's like forever that we're going to be on, right? And like you mentioned, different challenges, different projects, different businesses, something will always come up that will test our confidence. And, it's like we can always look back in our accomplishments and figure out like, what did I do to get to where I am today? And can I transfer that into my next project or next venture? And yeah, everything that you start will suck, right? You might suck a little bit, or suck a lot, or you won't be good at it. But with practice, you start to progress and become more confident in what you're doing. Like you mentioned, the first time you walked in the runway, it was, nerve wracking. You just went in and out. But the more you kept doing it, the more confident you felt because, you just kept taking action and just kept going, to as many runways as you can to feel comfortable on it. And, the more experiences we have, the more we can learn from them and become our authentic selves. And, to the woman who's listening to your episode, she may be in her own journey to self-confidence. What would be that one tip you would give to her?
So I have a few tips for confidence. I would say practice gratitude. I have a daily gratitude diary that I keep, and it makes me feel full. And when I feel full, I feel confident. I feel like no one can knock me back. I think detaching yourself from the thing you're doing and focusing on something that my dad told me always helps, which is always do your best. Which leads me to my next point, which is to be prepared. If you have a speech, make sure you practice it and walk in there knowing that you've done yourself justice. A couple of other things, I really like meditation. Doing a quick meditation every day gives me a lot of perspective and always centers me. And then finally, just going back to what I mentioned before, which is that remembering circumstances are a real thing and it will affect your confidence levels at any time. So if it is a new thing you're doing, give yourself a break. Don't push too hard to be like, this has to be perfect.
Thanks for sharing those great tips. And, especially like the last one, when you start something, kind of just give yourself a break. Don't overpressure yourself, because sometimes when we do that, we end up not taking action. So I think it's a great reminder. So thanks for sharing that. And if our listeners wanted to get to know a little bit more about you and what you do, or check out some of your work, is there any links or social media profiles we can connect with?
Yep. My Instagram is Anya Rose Campbell, and Anya is an Irish name. It's spelled Aine. And then Rose, Rose, Campbell, CAM for mother, P for Peter, B for boy, ELL. Also, the Model Mafia global community is Instagram at Model Activist. And my website is www.anyaRose.com.
Thanks for sharing that. And to our listeners, if you want to connect with Anya, you can also head on over to thetaoofselfconfidence.com and search for Anya's name. Her show notes will pop up along with everything else that we talked about. And I really just want to thank Anya today for taking the time to share her story and tips with us on self-confidence. So thank you so much, Anya.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me here. I hope it was helpful.
Not a problem. It was really great having you on the show, and I'm sure the listeners loved your interview for today. And to our listeners, be on the lookout for a new episode of another amazing woman's journey to self-confidence, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye for now. Thank you for tuning in to another amazing episode of The Tao of Self-Confidence. Visit our website at thetaoofselfconfidence.com to check out cool resources, blog articles, show recaps, and so much more. Your inner journey to self-confidence awaits.